So very quickly, I wanted to talk about how we'll be using these modified forms in the context of animal sketching. We'll get into this process in more detail in the further chapters, but I wanted to touch on this briefly. The point is to try and break down the subject to a point that you can understand it, so you can project those pieces into perspective and motion. You can actually take anything and first simplify it into a box. With a box, you're establishing a sense of the length, width, and height, so the dimensions of a subject or a section of it. For example, for the head of an animal, we might cut a plane into a rectangle to create a sloped plane that more closely represents the dimensions of that head. And there are no rules to exactly what kind of shape you have to use to build these subjects. We could also carve even more planes to get more form specific, but if you find that you struggle with freehanding perspective, I would recommend leaning into simpler forms. So here, I took a box and I decided to taper in the ends, and now I'm going to find the center of this plane by making an X across it. I'm going to drag out this center line, and I'm going to use that as a guide to finish out the rest of this shape that I could use as a head. We could also use modification to block in certain sections on an animal. For example, I'm going to take this box and separate out two different sections. Now this could be the shoulders and hips of an animal. By using the bigger box before separating the two forms, I'm able to make sure that they're perfectly aligned. That being said, remember that animals are organic and they can move, so this won't always be the case. But we could definitely use something like this when you're just setting up a product view of an animal in a 3/4 shot to understand the general dimensions. And you also want to think about a more organic approach to modification. For example, I could take this cylinder and have it taper in as it goes down, and we could use this shape for like an animal leg. Or we could take this one and slightly increase the volume near the base, creating a shape I could use for an abdomen of an animal. Being able to create more flexible and softer variations of forms while maintaining the perspective and structure will be extremely helpful when building animals. And like I said, we'll definitely expand on this concept further in the upcoming chapters, but for now, try taking a page and making some organic modifications. Think about what shapes you could use for different animals and try drawing them in multiple angles if you can. And let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next chapter for animal anatomy. Bye guys!